Hello, welcome to Paul's Take. Thanks for stopping by. Unfortunately, I have this really bad camera again, but hopefully by tomorrow I'll have a new one that will be really, really clear. I was using my cell phone and it was working pretty well, but it didn't work with this mic. And this mic makes to me a better difference to have better quality sound and not so great quality picture. So that's why I am choosing to go with the bad picture and a good mic because sound is everything. When you think about it, I used to work at Radio Shack way back when, and I quickly learned it didn't matter how big your TV was. If the quality of sound wasn't booming, then you didn't get that theater feel, the movie theater feel. You felt like you're more in a movie theater if you had great sound. Not as much. The screen is important, but it didn't feel it without the sound. The sound's very important. Anyways, today my subject matter is I forgot what was that subject matter. I think. Oh, I know. I'm a smart dumb guy. I was told that way back when, and it kind of stuck. I kind of felt like that was true, and I'll tell you why. I never really. I always felt inside. I'm sure everybody thinks they're smart, right? So I always felt like I was smart, like everybody else. But doesn't everybody think they're smart? So then I got thinking, well, maybe I'm like everybody else that thinks they're smart, but they're really not. Maybe they're dumb as dirt. And unfortunately, when I was in school, I never really, the smartness that I felt after watching all the MacGyvers, thinking it would somehow absorb into me, it didn't materialize. Like I didn't do well in school. I won't tell you why. Because I don't know. Maybe it was boring. Maybe I was distracted by all the ladies. I think I was really easily distracted. So I'm not really sure exactly why I didn't do well in school, but I had my moments, my genius moments that I was like, I am smart. I'm sure of it. And one was, I'll tell you my first one that I thought was really smart and it stuck with me for forever. I don't know why. Well, because I thought I was so proud of myself that I had thought this. Okay, so I used to live in California, and one day, my mom and I and my other brother, we went to, I want to say it was like the 4th of July or something. And in the 4th of July, everybody went to the beach to see the fireworks. So people would get to the beach at different times, and the beach would get totally packed with people. It would be just crazy, just filled with people watching the fireworks show. Now, even though people were coming in, obviously at different times, when it was over, everyone wanted to go home. So the problem was we actually went there on a bus among half the city, seems like it. And so we were at the bus stop, and the bus kept coming, and it would be full. One bus after bus. They were coming pretty often. I think they had extra buses, but nonetheless, every bus that came was completely full. So people start walking to the next bus stop, and then the next bus stop, walking home, basically from Santa Monica, wherever they're going. We're going pretty far, so we're not going to walk home. But my mom initially said, well, let's just go to the next bus stop. Maybe they'll pick us up there. Like everybody else was going to the next bus stop because the bus stop we were at was like the busiest bus stop. It was like the main one, but it wasn't the first one. So in me, this is when I'm telling you, I was probably, I'm thinking like 6 or 7 years old. So that's why I was so proud of myself. I said, let's not go to the next bus stop. Let's go to the previous bus stop. So we did. And then the bus stops over there were pretty close together. So we did that. Instead of going towards our home, we went away two bus stops down, and it was completely empty. So we were able not only to get on the bus, we had a seat. So by the time we got to the bus stop we were standing at, we would have been standing, or would not even get on the bus at all. So we got on the bus, and I was like the smartest guy in the world. My ego, my head was like this big. So that was my first really, I would say, materialized moment of genius. Genius, I tell you. Um, and then let's see here. I think the thing that was kind of confusing with me was I didn't do well in school. I couldn't remember anything. Like I couldn't. If you told me your name, I met you. Hi, how are you? As soon as you told me your name, it came and just went. It did not stick for nothing. That was for a long time. So I don't know if I was just too nervous or what, but I could not remember names worth a darn. I couldn't spell worth a hill of beans, which is probably it's like memorizing words. And I just didn't do well. Like nothing, math was pretty logical. And let's see here, what's the point? So, so growing up, because my memory is so bad, and I think, I tell you the truth, everybody says, well, what happened to you? You dropped on your head as a kid. I really was. Maybe that's what it was. My marbles got mixed up. When I was a little baby, in my mom's arms, she took me out of the bath, and I was all wet and not soapy, but wet and slippery. I fell, hit my head, bam, got a scar and everything. Anyhow, I'm not sure. I was a little kid, like I was like a baby, and I always wondered, was that the reason why my brain don't work right? Would you see? Um, but for the longest time, that was always a problem. And granted, I was I like to say I was raised by wolves because my mom worked a lot, my dad worked a lot, so I pretty much did my own homework, which I didn't do my homework, and kind of took care of myself in regards to school. I didn't have like the guidance and somebody sat you down. So yeah. Anyways, boring stuff. So, but in I got the nickname "smartest dumb guy" from a good friend of mine because I always had these. I would be dumb and I was bad at some things, but for some reason, like big things, I would come up with solutions, and that was like the logical guy. But my next big moment, let's see here. I actually built a custom motorcycle. I assembled one together without any instructions, and everybody thought that was pretty cool. Which to me seemed logical and easy. Oh, not say easy, but it seemed like it was something I could do. This is back in the day. If you were remember Jesse James and West Coast Choppers, that was huge. It was huge to me. So I was like, I want to do that. I want to build a chopper that looks cool. Throw a motor in, frame, forks. What more is there? Piece of cake, right? So at one point, I kept like watching the show and loving the show, thinking that was the coolest thing in the world. So at one point, we actually moved, and I guess now I'm like 30. And up until then, there was not really any big events that really made me feel like a genius. But even the motorcycle didn't seem, it was hard. I think that's why. But anyways, so watching Jesse James, we, my wife wanted to move to the East Coast from the West Coast. And she said, I'll tell you what, we sell the house, we could put aside some money, and you can build a chopper. And that was her selling point. So I was like, really? And I didn't have to work for like 3 months. I had 3 months to build a chopper. So I thought that was really cool. So in 3 months, I put together a chopper. It took me longer to completely finish it, but for the most part, that's when I ran out of money and had to get a job. So I did most of it in that 3 months, but there was no instructions. What surprised me was you buy a part, it's like when you buy parts, it's not like you're replacing a part. That'll be easy. You take a part out, you put another part back on. Well, I had to figure out what parts I needed, and there was really not a good source on like assembling a motorcycle from scratch. Now you could have bought a kit, and that would be the way to go. But I didn't do the kit. I didn't find it. I would have done a kit, but I didn't see any kits that I liked. That was a problem. So I just said, screw it. I'm just gonna go for it. So I started buying parts, and like I would be in a situation where I like had these two parts that I knew needed to go together. And then I'm like, well, something needs to connect these things. So since I had like no instructions, I had to like look at catalogs for parts that looked like it should fit between here and here. And it was really tough. It was definitely straining my brain, but I put it pretty much together. And even though everybody was blown away by it, I personally wasn't impressed. Like, I mean, it was fine. I was like, okay, I did that. It didn't seem, in theory, like the hardest thing in the world to me, even though it was hard. And maybe that's why I wasn't impressed with myself, because it really did take a lot out of me. But, and then between you and me, I'm supposed to spread this around. When I was younger, this is 10 years ago, I wrote 2 books. Now, they're kind of, let's just say, for a more mature audience. And when I wrote the first book, it blew people away, because remember, I wasn't a good student, and my worst subject was spelling and English. And so it was like impossible. The idea of it was dumb. It's like, why are you going to do that? It's not even one of my strengths. It's not a strength at all. I was terrible at it. But I said, I had these ideas. I actually came with the idea. I was driving the bus. I was a bus driver at the time. And I was talking to this one lady that came on the bus all the time. And she said that she wanted to be, she said that she wanted to be a writer or something, or she took school to be, she went to college to be a writer. But then so I was like, oh, so you write? What do you write? So I don't write. I work in some tech company. I'm like, well, do you like it? She's like, no, I want to be a writer. I'm like, then write. And I kept on throwing her ideas every day I saw her. Throw her some ideas. And she's like, you have a lot of ideas. Why don't you write a book? And so then I was like, one of the ideas kind of stuck. So I was like, okay, I think I will. So I figured I'd just play with the idea of writing. And after a while, in my head, I had this kind of a storyline. And I started writing. And next thing you know, I had a book. It was terrible. No, I think the first book was good. It just was too crazy. If I didn't know anything else, what else could I write about? I wasn't an expert on anything. I had to write crazy, right? So don't ask me what it is. I'm not going to tell you. And then, so everybody was blown away by that. A lot of people were blown away by the fact that I built a motorcycle. But writing the book blew me away, for one. It just actually came out. And the funny thing about writing, if you're ever interested in writing, some famous person, I forgot who it was because I got a bad memory, said that first drafts are terrible. And that was the case. And I learned that right away. So the first draft, you write something. I didn't write the whole book. I would write like a chapter. I'd read back the chapter. And I'd be like, man, that looks like a 3rd or 4th grader wrote that book or that chapter. It'd be horrible. It'd be horrendous. It'd be terrible. And then sometimes I could even read what I was writing. I'm like, what the hell did I just write? What was I trying to say? So anyway, so you go over it. Go over, like it's called a draft. So you go over it again. You smoothen it out. And I realized after the second draft, the second draft is what I expect the first draft should be. But then you go again, 3rd draft, 4th draft. Once you get to about the 4th draft, you're like, wow, that's impressive. I wrote that, and it really boosted my confidence. I was like really impressed that after the 3rd or 4th draft, I was impressed with myself. I was impressed with my writing, and I was just like shocked that I could do something so awesome. So, well, that's the secret. Just keep writing. If you want to be a writer, just write, and don't get bogged down by your first draft, because it's gonna suck. Unless you're like some super talented person, I guess. But I think for most of us, and I have a lot of writer friends on Facebook, and they all say the same thing. You just gotta work it. It's basically a discipline more than anything else. But anyways, so I wrote the first book, then I wrote a second book, and then neither one did well. I mean, people liked it, and now I get to sign some autographs and sell the books, and that was great. But the return on it was the satisfying return. Like basically, it's impossible to get people to read nowadays. People don't read; they watch YouTube. Hence, where I'm at now. It's hard enough to get people to watch a YouTube channel. Try to get somebody to sit down and read a book is impossible. Okay, so now everywhere I went, people would say, "Oh, this is Paul. He's a writer," and all of a sudden, people were like, "Ooh," because people had to qualify. It's kind of lame. I read this thing somewhere where it says something like, "If somebody asks you what you do, like for a living, they're sizing you up to see how much respect to give you. Because if you say, I'm a trash man, they'll be like, loser. If you say, oh, I'm a lawyer or a doctor, then you'll be like, ooh, this guy's, hello there. Gives you a bunch of respect. So I try to make it a point when I meet somebody, not to ask them what they do, because that, it's like almost like a natural instinct. You make small talk. Oh, what do you do for a living? So now I try to make a point never to say, ask a person what they do, and never to reply. Hopefully, if they try to ask me what I do, I try to like make it very vague. I work for a bus company. That's it. Don't tell them what I do there. It's enough. And then kind of throws them off. I'm a writer. Yeah, respect me. I'm fancy. All right. So, but that was it was getting, my ego was getting better because people were like, when you tell somebody you're a writer or you wrote something, all of a sudden, ooh, you get respect because everybody wants to be a writer. Everybody wants to write a book, but nobody does. And what kills me is I know I'm not the most talented writer. I'm a genius, don't get me wrong. But I've known so many people that I respect as smart, creative, and I know they could, if they applied themselves, if they just sat down and wrote, they would be a writer. They would be a great writer. They'd probably make a ton of money. And that's what their dream is. I want to be a writer, but they have all these excuses and they don't do it. And it just kills me. And growing up, same way. But just in general about people that I grew up with I always, for some reason, got along with smart people. Another hint, but for some reason, I understand why. But I got along with a lot of smart people. I did really good in school. I mean, really, really good. They were like at top. And they don't do anything with their lives. You're like, you look them up and you're like, really, dude? I'm doing better than you. And I was the one, I barely got out of high school. Didn't finish college. And I'm doing pretty good. Not great, but better than a lot of people that I thought were going to be like masters of the universe. I was trying to, hold on to their coattails. And next thing you know, they had crappy jobs. They didn't do anything with them. With that talent, wasted talent. But that still was not the point where I was like, that really was the wake up call that says, you know what? I am smart. All right, so I'll tell you what it was. How are we doing on time? Oh man, 8 minutes. Oh no. All right, so the wake up call was at my job. I won't say where, but I'm at this job and I'm in a supervisor position. So in management, that's like the lowest level. They have so many different levels of management, and all these fancy titles and directors and all these different cool stuff. So in this one particular, well, there's two different. I'll go with the first, the easier one. Hopefully I can wrap it up fast. So they sent me to this class, and they sent me with another guy that was supposed to be smart, and also he was either director or manager at the time, but he was a smart guy, and I mean, everybody respect him. I respect him. He's a great guy, very smart guy. He was very impressive because he's about my age, maybe a little younger, but he never stopped going to school. So he's always taking classes, always learning. He's got so many degrees. He's a smart guy, talks super well. He's a sharp guy, very impressive. So we went to this class with him, and it was a class where they graded you. So we took tests, and then he graded us on the test and stuff. And I was shocked that every test that we took, remember, we're sitting here side by side, because we're us three amongst other people, and my scores were always the best. And I'm like, and this at this time, I'm thinking, just I'm like, wow, why am I here? I'm the dumbass one. Where everybody else are like management, and my score was higher than my group. And I didn't know what everybody else was doing, but I was like, whoa, that's pretty impressive. I was shocked myself, because we were all sitting watching the same lectures, watching the same videos, and my scores were better. Hey. So now I'm like, I'm getting the hint. I'm getting the hint that maybe just because I don't have a good memory, maybe because I can't remember your name, but maybe there's something in there somewhere, that it's got some power behind there, some analytical skills. But the one moment, and it's the same company, sent me to a management class. And it's not so much of management, but it was, I guess you'll call it a management class for lack of a better term. But it wasn't even like a class. It was like a retreat. So we went away for like a week, and you spent it was like 12 hours a day. It was crazy, like a cult or something. You stay with the same group of like 20 people, and you got the leader person, and they have all these different games. Not so much test, but they're like competitions. And one after another, we just do a bunch of different ones. And you take turns being like the leader of your group, and you compete with other groups. So you have like the person that's supposed to be the leader, and he organizes the group. And so anyways, so we kept doing all these different games. Like I said, we're there for 12 hours a day. Everybody in there is way above me. I am the peon. I am the low-level supervisor. And I got managers and directors and all this stuff from different agencies, not just ours. Most of them are like managers. And again, so we had all these different competitions, and I was like kicking butt. I was on the winning team. I was the winning team. Whenever we had something, people wanted to be on my team because they realized after a short period of time that my logic, my systems were working. Time after time, we were kicking butt, and it was me, and that was a turnaround point. After about 2 weeks of that, I realized I'm better than, not a better person, but I was like better at that kind of stuff. I was better leader. I was better logical. It was still logic, the problem solving that I was better at. So it wasn't memorizing. It was like problem solving, trying to figure things out, the best way to do things. And that is when I realized that I am a genius. Einstein, idiot. Elon Musk, moron. That's all I know. Anyways, so that is my story. Why did I bring it up? Well, for one, what is difficult is I committed to doing 30 minutes a day, and it's difficult. So I thought that was a pretty interesting story. Not trying to brag. I'm not trying to brag, but I figure if you're investing in me, I'll invest and tell you a little bit about me. And also it might inspire somebody to be like, hey, maybe because I'm not doing great or I haven't found my place, my expertise, maybe you just got to keep on trying. I mean, I think everybody is good at something. And sometimes you just don't know until you hit it, until you find it. Usually I think it's something you're passionate in. You can put your energy into it, your focus, your drive. And there you go. I think we all have potential to be awesome. And so now I'm working on YouTube, and I'm really having fun with it. And I really try to see, it really gets me fired up when I do something, which is rare, that I'm really impressed with. And another thing that's always been terrible. So before I did my books, typing was just something I could not get. I was terrible at it. In writing, remember I told you I was a terrible speller, terrible writer. But after you write a book and you're going over drafts and drafts and drafts, guess what? You really learn how to type really well. And not only that, you're able to put your thoughts on paper really well. So what I used to always avoid. I used to avoid jobs to have anything to do with writing because I was intimidated by the idea of even putting my thoughts on paper. Be like, oh no, they're going to realize I'm a retard. Now that's my strength. Now I can, if I have to do a report, no problem. If I have to explain myself on paper, I you cannot battle me when it comes to writing. So in a sense, like if somebody were to write something, hey Paul, you need to defend yourself. Man, forget it. Just you can beat me verbally, but you can't beat me typing. Now I'm so good at expressing myself, my ideas, that's my strength. It used to be my total fear, my phobia. And also speaking, public speaking has always been another thing. I'm not a great speaker, not too bad now, but I feel like this is also helping me out as well. So this is making me more of a rounded whole person. Alrighty. Well, I was going to talk about some other things, but that completed my whole show. Thank goodness. So thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging in there. I see some of the guys hanging in there. Appreciate you. If you're not, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do. Subscribe to Paul's Take. Hit like, make a comment, and we'll see you tomorrow, 12:30 till 1 every night. Thanks for watching Paul's Take.